The night I believed everything would finally fall into place. Was the night I learned how wrong I was. It was supposed to be simple. A farewell party. One last evening before graduation scattered us into different cities, different lives, different futures. The kind of night you remember with a soft smile years later. At least, that's what I thought. She walked in beside me. Our shoulders brushed lightly as we stepped into the private room. Warm lights reflecting off polished tables, soft music humming in the background. People noticed us instantly. They always did. Look at you too, someone laughed. Matching outfits already? Might as well announce it tonight. I smiled, a little embarrassed. She didn't smile right away. Then she squeezed my hand. Not gently, not lovingly, tightly. I told myself it was excitement. I told myself it meant she was nervous, in a good way. I was wrong. Friends gathered around us, teasing, nudging, making jokes that only come out on nights that feel important. So, someone asked, "Is tonight finally the night?" I nodded slightly, lowering my voice. Just wait. Because in my mind, everything was already decided. We had history, years of it, inside jokes no one else understood, shared childhood memories, families who already treated us like something inevitable. I thought that kind of bond couldn't be shaken. I was still living in that illusion when the door opened, and he walked in. The room didn't fall silent, but something shifted. You know that feeling when energy changes without a sound? When laughter becomes quieter, conversations pause just half a second too long. That happened. He didn't need to announce himself. He never did. Tall, calm, effortlessly confident. The kind of person people describe as natural, as if the world simply gave him advantages and he accepted them without question. The campus king. I noticed the resemblance first. Same color blazer. Same clean, effortless look. It felt like a joke fate was playing two versions of the same image standing in one room. But then I noticed something worse. Her eyes. She didn't stay. She didn't smile. She just noticed him. And that was enough. 3 months earlier, she had confessed to him publicly, in front of half the campus. I was there that day. I watched her gather courage, watched her voice shake, watched her heart break when he rejected her coldly, almost cruelly. After that, they became strangers, or so I believed. I reminded myself of that as we took our seats. I told myself she was with me now. She leaned closer, her voice soft. "Let's sit," she said. Her grip tightened again. It almost hurt. The beginning of the night passed slowly. Food arrived. Glasses clinked. People laughed louder than usual, the way they do when they don't want to think about endings. I tried to relax. After all, this night was her idea. She was the one who wanted us, hey. The one who insisted we come together. That had to mean something, right? My friend leaned in and whispered, "Relax. You're overthinking." I wanted to believe him, but there was a weight in my chest I couldn't explain. It wasn't jealousy. It was instinct. Before he arrived, things had already been changing. Small things at first. A vote she didn't give me, when she always had before. A joke that cut a little too deep. A comparison she didn't bother hiding. "You're comfortable," she once said casually. Not exciting. I laughed then. I always laughed. Because laughing meant I didn't have to admit what it really felt like. Back at the table, she placed food into my bowl carefully, just like she used to. The familiarity warmed me for a moment. Then she added something else. Something she knew, better than anyone. I couldn't eat. I froze. My chest tightened, not from fear, but from realization. She wasn't looking at me. Her eyes were fixed across the table, watching someone else's plate being filled, mirroring the movement. That was when it hit me. She wasn't distracted. She was focused on someone else. My hand trembled slightly as I set my utensils down. The sound was sharp enough to catch attention. She snapped back instantly. "Oh, I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I wasn't paying attention." She removed the food as if nothing had happened, as if it meant nothing. People around us laughed. "Enough already," someone joked. "We get it. You two are close." Another voice chimed in. "So when are you finally telling everyone?" A month ago, my heart would have raced. Tonight, something felt wrong. Her jaw tightened. Her fingers curled into her lap. This wasn't excitement. This was resistance. I spoke before she could. "Let's talk about college plans instead." For a moment, I thought I had saved us both. But then she stood up, pulled me up with her, and forced a smile so bright it hurt to look at. "Well," she said, "since everyone's curious." She paused. That pause changed everything. Because before she could finish, he stood up, and the room went silent. He stood up so suddenly that the chair scraped loudly against the floor. The sound cut through the room like a warning. Every conversation stopped. Every laugh died halfway. I could hear my own breathing, slow, uneven, as he walked forward with a glass in his hand, eyes rimmed red, jaw tight like he was holding himself together with force alone. No one interrupted him. No one dared to. He stopped directly in front of us. Not me. Huh. The girl standing beside me. The girl whose hand had slipped from mine at some point without me noticing. He lifted the glass slightly, then lowered it again, as if unsure what to do with it. Finally, he spoke. "You win." His voice wasn't loud. That somehow made it worse. The words echoed anyway. People exchanged confused looks. "Win what? Win who?" I felt her body tense beside me. He let out a short, bitter laugh. "I thought rejecting you back then was the right choice," he continued. I told myself I was being rational. Smart. His eyes never left her face. "But watching you with him." He glanced at me briefly, not with anger, not with guilt, but with dismissal. I realized how wrong I was. The room felt smaller, walls closing in. Thick. "I regret it," he said quietly. "I regret humiliating you. I regret pretending I didn't care." Someone gasped softly. Another person whispered, "Is this really happening?" I looked at her. Her lips were parted slightly. She wasn't shocked. She wasn't angry. She looked ready, as if this moment had been waiting for her. He took one more step forward. "Maya," he said, voice breaking for the first time. "Give me one more chance." Silence. Heavy. Unforgiving. My name wasn't spoken. My presence wasn't acknowledged. I was still standing there, still beside her, but somehow already removed from the scene. People waited. For her answer. For the ending. I told myself she would turn to me. I told myself she would step back. I told myself she would choose. Instead, she didn't move away. She didn't speak. She let him close the distance. When his hand reached for her face, I thought she would stop him. I was wrong. He cupped her cheek gently, like something fragile. And then he kissed her. Slowly, carefully, as if savoring the moment. As if the entire room had disappeared. She kissed him back. Not in confusion. Not in hesitation. But fully. Passionately. Like this was the choice she had already made long before tonight. The room exploded. Whistles. Cheers. Shocked laughter. Someone clapped. Another voice shouted. I knew it. I didn't hear most of it. A strange quiet filled my head. Not numbness. Not rage. Clarity. I watched them the way you watch a door close behind you, knowing there's no reason to chase it. I didn't shout. Didn't move. Didn't break. I simply stood there while the girl I love kissed someone else as if I had never existed. At some point, they separated. He rested his forehead against hers. She smiled. That smile wasn't for me. Someone finally noticed me. A few sympathetic glances. Awkward shifting. But no one spoke to me. No one asked if I was okay. Because the story had already chosen its hero. And I wasn't him. I reached into my pocket. Pulled out my phone. My hands didn't shake. That surprised me. The camera opened. I framed the shot carefully. Not dramatic. Not obvious. Just proof. One click. Soft. Final. I didn't look at the photo. I didn't need to. I opened the family group chat. The same group where plans had been made. The same group where futures were assumed. I typed slowly, every word deliberate. Congratulations on the new relationship. Pause. I assume everything previously arranged is now cancelled. Then I pressed send. I slipped the phone back into my pocket. No announcement. No explanation. Truth doesn't need volume. Someone laughed nervously and tried to ease the tension. So, they said loudly, "What were you about to announce earlier?" All eyes turned back to her. She looked at me. For a fraction of a second, something crossed her face. Not regret. Not guilt. Discomfort. Like my presence complicated the moment she wanted to enjoy. Then she straightened, smiled brightly, and said clearly, "There's nothing to announce. Ethan and I were never together." The words hit harder than the kiss. Never together. Just like that, years erased. Memories rewritten. I felt heat rise behind my eyes. But I smiled, because I finally understood something. If I protested now, I would only become the villain. So I nodded, and said calmly, "That's right." People blinked. Some looked surprised. Others relieved. "Yes," I continued evenly. "We're just childhood friends. Nothing more." Her smile faltered, just slightly, like she hadn't expected agreement, like she wanted resistance. I took a sip of my drink, finished it, set the glass down gently. I picked up my bag. No one stopped me. No one followed. As I walked out, I heard someone sigh dramatically behind me. So the childhood friend really lost. Another voice replied. It was obvious, wasn't it? The door closed behind me. Outside, the night air felt cold against my face. My vision blurred. Not immediately. Tears came slowly, quietly. I didn't wipe them away. I let them fall. Because for the first time, I wasn't pretending anymore. I wasn't hoping. I wasn't waiting. I was letting go. I stood there alone, breathing deeply, grounding myself in the moment. This wasn't humiliation. This was release. I told myself, cry now. Let it all out. And never cry for her again. When I finally went home, the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. I went straight to my room, pulled out a cardboard box from the back of my closet, and started filling it. Every gift, every note, every memory I had mistaken for love. I placed them inside carefully, not with anger, with respect, for what I had once believed. When I sealed the box, it felt like sealing a chapter of my life. Not just objects, but devotion, hope, illusion. I carried the box outside, and that's when the door across the hall opened. Her father's voice was loud, angry, demanding, "Go apologize to him. Now." She stumbled out, clearly unprepared, and stopped when she saw me, the box in my arms. We stared at each other, long, heavy. She looked away first. "What are you doing with that box?" she asked awkwardly. Her father stepped forward. "Help him carry it." I stepped back instinctively. "It's fine," I said politely. "It's not heavy." Her father frowned. "Ethan, tonight was her mistake. A moment of confusion. You've known each other your whole lives. Surely you won't throw that away over one incident." I met his eyes. "Calm. This wasn't one incident," I said quietly. Silence fell again. She clenched her fists. "You didn't have to send that message," she snapped. "You humiliated him." I looked at her. "No," I said. "I told the truth." She opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out, because deep down, she knew. The hallway felt narrower than usual. Not physically, but emotionally. Walls that had once heard our laughter now absorbed something heavier. Her father stood behind her, arms crossed, anger barely restrained. Her mother hovered in the background, silent, ashamed. She stood in front of me, not the girl I had loved for years, not the person I thought I knew, just someone defensive, cornered. "What do you want from me?" she snapped. "I already admitted I used you. Isn't that enough?" I didn't answer immediately. I set the box down gently, because I finally understood something important. If I reacted emotionally, she would win again. If I stayed calm, the truth would stand on its own. Her father cleared his throat. "Maya, lower your voice." She ignored him. "You didn't have to ruin everything," she said, glaring at me. "You made things worse than they had to be." I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to explain myself. Worse for who? I asked quietly. She hesitated. That hesitation said more than any confession ever could. Her father turned to me. Ethan, he said, his tone softer now. Whatever happened tonight, we can fix it. Families argue. Young people make mistakes. You two grew up together. That matters. I nodded. It does, I said. That's why I won't pretend anymore. Her eyes widened slightly. What do you mean? She demanded. I took a slow breath. We started dating a month before the entrance exams, I said calmly. You were the one who confessed to me. Her parents stiffened. She spun toward them instantly. Why are you telling them this? She snapped. This is between us. No, I replied evenly. It stopped being between us tonight. Her father's face darkened. Maya, he said sharply. Is that true? She clenched her jaw. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, with obvious frustration, she scoffed. Fine, she said. Yes, I confessed. Her mother gasped softly. Her father looked stunned. But, she continued quickly, that doesn't mean what you think. She turned back to me, eyes blazing. I only did it because I needed him, she said bluntly. I needed someone to make Julian jealous. Her parents stared at her in disbelief. I felt something inside me crack. Not pain. Relief. So it's true, I said quietly. Everything over the past month. Yes, she interrupted impatiently. I used you. That's my fault. But you're a guy. You'll get over it. Her words echoed in the hallway. Her father raised his voice. How can you say something like that? She ignored him. You knew how I felt about Julian, she continued, her tone sharp. He rejected me in front of everyone. Do you know how humiliating that was? I do, I said softly. I was there. She waved her hand dismissively. Then you should understand. I couldn't let him think I was still waiting around like some loser. So you used me to prove you weren't, I said. Yes, she snapped. And it worked. Her father slammed his palm against the wall. Enough, he shouted. Do you hear yourself? She turned on him. You don't understand, she said angrily. You never did. Then she looked back at me. Do you know what you are to me? She asked coldly. I stayed silent. You're safe, she said. Predictable. Reliable. Her voice lowered. Being with you feels like my left hand holding my right. Her mother covered her mouth. There's no excitement, she continued. No spark. No desire. She lifted her chin defiantly. I never loved you romantically. I never could. The words should have destroyed me. They didn't. Because somewhere between the kiss, the message, and this moment, I had already let go. I see, I said calmly. That calm unsettled her. She frowned. That's it, she demanded. You're not angry. I shook my head. No. Her anger fled. So you're just going to walk away after everything we've been through? I looked at her. I already have. Her father stepped forward. Maya, apologize, he ordered. She laughed bitterly. Why? She shot back. For being honest. I picked up the box again. This honesty came too late, I said quietly. But I'm glad I finally heard it. Her mother's voice trembled. Ethan, she said softly, we've always seen you as family. I nodded respectfully. And I appreciate that, I replied. That's why I won't make this harder than it needs to be. Her father sighed deeply. If you walk away now, he said, there may be no coming back. I met his eyes. I know. She stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. You really think you can just erase me? She asked. I smiled faintly. No, I said, but I can erase the version of myself that stayed. That seemed to hit her harder than anything else. She scoffed. You'll regret this, she said. You always come back. I paused at my door, turned to face her one last time. Not this time, I said calmly. I went inside, closed the door, and leaned against it, breathing deeply. Not because I was weak, but because I was free. Behind the door, voices rose. Arguments. Pleas. Accusations. I didn't listen. I carried the box into my room, placed it in the corner, and sat down on the bed. For the first time in years, my mind was quiet. No what ifs. No hopes. No waiting. Just clarity. I pulled out my laptop, Opened the application portal. Pacific Bay University, the school I had promised to attend for her. I stayed at the screen, then closed it, and opened a different tab. Westwood University, the school I had always wanted. My hands hovered over the keyboard, then typed. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't punishment. This was choice. When I finished, I leaned back and exhaled slowly. My phone buzzed. A message from her. Then another. I didn't open them. Because some chapters don't need responses. They just need endings. The days after that night felt strangely quiet. Not peaceful, just empty. No messages lighting up my phone. No familiar footsteps across the hallway. No routines built around someone else's presence. At first, the silence felt unnatural. Then it started to feel like space. I woke up early the next morning without an alarm. Sunlight filtered through my curtains, soft and indifferent, like the world hadn't noticed my heartbreak at all. That realization hurt. And then it healed me, because it meant my life hadn't ended. It had simply shifted back into my hands. I made coffee, sat alone at the kitchen table, and for the first time in years, no one's mood dictated how my day would begin. My phone buzzed. A message from her. I didn't open it. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. Some words arrived too late to matter. Classes ended quickly after that. Graduation approached like an inevitable line drawn in front of all of us. People talked. Of course they did. Stories traveled fast, but never accurately. Some said she had always loved him. Some said I was too passive. Some said it was just one kiss. I let them talk, because the truth didn't need defense. I focused on myself, something I hadn't done in a long time. I went running in the mornings, not to punish my body, but to remind it that it was alive. I studied with focus, not distraction. I lifted weights without mirrors. I read without checking my phone. With every small routine, something inside me steadied. She noticed. Of course she did. People always notice when you stop chasing them. The first time I saw her again, it was in the hallway. She was laughing with friends, until she saw me. Her smile faltered. Not dramatically, just enough. She slowed, as if expecting me to acknowledge her. I didn't. I walked past her calmly. That moment stayed with her. I could tell, because the messages started coming. Short ones at first. Can we talk? Then longer. You didn't have to shut me out completely. I didn't reply. Not because I was trying to hurt her. Because I had nothing left to say. Weeks passed. Acceptance letters arrived. Mine first. Westwood University. I stayed at the email for a long time. Not with excitement. With relief. I had chosen myself. She didn't get into Pacific Bay. Not because she wasn't smart, but because life doesn't reward people who treat others like placeholders. She found out through mutual friends. That was when the regret began. Not loud regret. Quiet panic. She started waiting near my class exits, asking about my day, pretending nothing had changed. You're really going to leave? She asked one afternoon. Yes, I replied simply. She frowned. You promised we'd go together. I looked at her. That promise ended the night you did. Her eyes glistened. For the first time, she looked uncertain. Not powerful. Not admired. Just human. I made a mistake, she said quietly. I nodded. I know. She waited. I didn't continue. Don't you care? She asked, frustration creeping in. I do, I said honestly. Just not in the way you want anymore. That was when it hit her. She had lost control of the narrative. She started telling people she missed me, that she had been confused, that she had grown. I didn't correct her. Growth doesn't require witnesses. One evening, her father knocked on our door. Alone. He looked older, tired. I came to apologize, he said. For my daughter. I listened respectfully, then said, you don't need to apologize for choices you didn't make. He sighed. She's struggling. I nodded. I believe that. Could you talk to her? He asked quietly. I thought for a moment, then shook my head. That would only help her feel better, I said. It wouldn't change what happened. He didn't argue. He understood. Graduation day arrived. Caps, gowns, cameras, families gathered. She stood across the crowd, searching. When she found me, our eyes met. For a moment, I saw the past. Then I looked away. not in bitterness. In completion. She approached after the ceremony. "This is really it, isn't it?" she asked. "Yes." She swallowed. "I never thought you'd actually leave." I smiled gently. I didn't either. That honesty hurt her more than anger ever could. She reached out, then stopped herself. "Will you ever forgive me?" she asked. I thought carefully before answering. "I already have," I said. "But forgiveness doesn't mean access." She nodded slowly. Tears slid down her face. I didn't wipe them away, because they weren't mine to manage anymore. That night, I packed my bags. The box stayed behind. Some things don't come with you into new chapters. As I locked the door one last time, I felt something settle inside me. Not triumph. Peace. I wasn't winning. I wasn't losing. I was moving forward. And somewhere behind me, she finally realized what she had thrown away. The city looked different when I arrived. Not brighter. Not kinder. Just honest. Westwood University didn't welcome me with fanfare or certainty. It welcomed me with unfamiliar streets, quiet dorm rooms, and the kind of anonymity that forces you to meet yourself again. At first, nights were the hardest. No shared memories. No echoes of laughter. No expectations. Just me. And the silence. But unlike before, this silence didn't feel empty. It felt open. I poured myself into my studies, not to escape pain, but to build something real. I joined a research group, worked part-time at the campus library, ran every morning before sunrise. With every routine, I felt stronger. Not physically, though that changed too, but mentally. I stopped checking my phone, stopped wondering what she was doing, stopped measuring my worth through someone else's attention. One afternoon, months later, I received a message. From her. "I heard you're doing well." I stayed at the screen and felt nothing. Not anger, not longing, just distance. I replied politely, "I hope you are too." That was all. She didn't respond again. And that felt right. Life moved forward in small, meaningful ways. I made friends who knew nothing about my past, who saw me for who I was, not who I used to be. There was no pressure to impress, no role to play. I could just exist. One evening, I sat alone on a bench overlooking the campus lights and thought about everything that had happened. About love. About loyalty. About how easily people confuse comfort for commitment. I realized something important. She hadn't betrayed me because she was cruel. She betrayed me because she didn't know who she was, and used me to avoid finding out. That understanding didn't excuse her actions, but it freed me from them. Months passed. Spring turned into summer. I received an internship offer, then another. For the first time in my life, doors opened because of my effort, not my availability. I went home during break. Our old apartment building looked smaller, the hallway quieter. Her door was closed. I didn't knock. There was nothing left inside for me. Her mother saw me once in the grocery store. She smiled sadly. "You look well," she said. "I am," I replied honestly. She nodded. "She talks about you sometimes." I said nothing, because some stories don't need to continue. On my final night back, I opened the old box, the one I had left behind. I looked through it slowly, not with pain, with gratitude. These weren't reminders of loss. They were proof that I had loved sincerely, and that mattered. I threw the box away the next morning, not because I was erasing the past, but because I no longer needed to carry it. Years later, I understood something I couldn't back then. People don't regret losing you when they hurt you. They regret losing you when they see you no longer need them. I never confronted her again, never explained myself, never demanded understanding. Because the strongest closure doesn't come from answers. It comes from alignment, choosing yourself consistently, until the noise fades. If there's one thing I learned from that night, it's this: never beg to be chosen, never compete for love. Never shrink yourself to stay relevant in someone else's story. The right people won't need convincing. They'll recognize your value without being reminded. And if they don't, walk away quietly. Because silence, when backed by self-respect, is louder than any argument you could ever make. That night at the farewell party didn't end my life. It ended an illusion. And in its place, I built something real.